meeting now. That way, if anyone needs a refresher, they can see it. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and show you the things that I was asked specifically you wanted to see. And then what we're going to do is we can kind of turn this into a Q&A. Any Q&A thing shouldn't be troubleshooting issues. Like if you're having a specific problem, I'll go ahead and initially refer you to our customer support team. So if you go to help and support, there's going to be a phone number you can call and an email you can send an email to get any help you need. So if you're having, again, troubleshooting issues, calling customer service would be the better way to approach it. But if you have how-to questions, like what does it look like when the borrower does this, or how do I get notified when this happens, any type of how-to questions, that would be the best type of question for this forum. So referring then to the notes here, a couple of things we wanted to see here. So let's talk about the loan application. I think that's something that we wanted to cover both as a borrower and from the borrower from both a mobile app and a web app experience. So what I'm going to do here is I'm logged in as a borrower here on the phone side, and I actually want to keep that. But off screen here, I have a fake loan started for this borrower. So just bear with me a minute or so while I go ahead and kind of nuke my fake loan so we can start over. So I'm going to go to app settings, no, excuse me, app users, and I need to go ahead and delete this loan. Okay. And we'll start with all the 1003 stuff. There we go. Okay, so let me refresh the app. There we go. So when your borrowers go into the mobile app, and they do not have a loan already started, then one of the first things they're going to see is this button here right near the top that says Start Your Loan Process. So this button is going to shortcut them over to the My Loan section to start filling out their 1003 loan application. So they're going to see an option to, to fill out their 1003. They're going to see it here on the info page. They're also going to see it on the calculator results page, and they're also going to see it on the My Loan page. So when they do go into the My Loan section, this is where they're actually going to start filling that out. We also have on the website the ability for them to fill out a web-based 1003. So for that, I'm going to try to show these like side by side. So in your share app page, you actually have two links. One link here, the shorter one, is going to be your individual unique link to be able to share the mobile app with various people. But we also provide you a link here that is going to allow clients to sign up or fill out their 1003 on the web-based environment. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and click on this link so we can kind of see the two side by side. Now, I assume everyone was able to see the loan officer training video that I did a short time ago. So we know that on the mobile side, when a borrower goes in to download the app and install it for the first time, they create their user initially by hitting the Get Started option, and it asks them to put in their email address, and then when it sees that it's a unique email address, they can then put in their names and their phone numbers, and that creates a profile for them so that they're now an app user in our system. Well, similarly here on the web, a few things. So if they're brand new, they haven't downloaded the app or anything, and they come to this web-based environment, then really what they're going to have is two options to either buy a home or refinance a home. So essentially we're asking one of those first questions on the 1003 about what type of loan this is going to be. So let's say we hit buy a home here, and then just like the mobile app, it's going to ask them to provide their unique email address. So if I put in like Synergy1 borrower, and I'm just going to make up a number here, make sure it's random here. Oh, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me make it more random than that. And then we'll hit @sn.com. So we're putting in an email address that should not already exist in the system. So this is the borrower's unique email. So we hit Get Started, and now it recognizes that it doesn't already know who we are. So it's going to ask us to go ahead and provide our information. So I can call this guy Mike, borrower. It already has our email. It wants our mobile number. And then it wants us to create a password for ourselves. So this is how a borrower on the web-based environment is going to set up their brand new user. Let me say though, and we'll come back to our Mike borrower scenario. Let's say they get to this page, but they have been to the app and they've already downloaded the mobile app. So they can verify themselves by either hitting the login button in the upper right-hand corner, and then if they've created a password, they can just simply hit put in their email address and password and get logged in with the same user that exists over on the mobile app side. However, let's say they didn't set up a password yet, because most borrowers by default are not asked to set up a password. So let's say we want to get logged in as the same user over here. So like we see over here that the email address I used as a borrower when I got set up is slbsn.com. So let's go ahead and hit this link again here. And let's say we're going to hit buy a home, and we're going to put in an email address that does already exist in the system. And so when we get started, it's going to recognize that we're already a user because we set ourselves up on the mobile app. So what it wants to do is simply verify who we are by sending us a verification code. And so in this case, it's going to ask to send us an email to this email address. So when we hit send code, it's going to email us a verification code, which we can then put in here. And then we're logged into both environments with the same credentials. So we're logged in to both the app side and the web side as the same app user. So let me, because that's not actually an active email address, let me go back to this first scenario here where I created I'm going to create a borrower here. I think it's random number at sn.com, because we're going to talk about filling out the 1003 from both environments. So again, let me call myself Mike Borrower, and we'll put in a mobile number and a password and create account. So in this case, I'm creating a new profile. So on my left-hand side, I'm calling myself Mike Borrower, and on the mobile side, I'm calling myself Billy Borrower. So I have two different profiles here. So in both cases, when, like on the mobile side, when I go to the My Loan tab, it has start your loan process. On the web side, it's just the first thing it's going to ask you to do is it's going to ask you to fill out the 1003. We can, if we want, go ahead and click over on the help page, and like if we go over to the dashboard, then we can see like a default document request list, and we can see this incomplete loan application because we're on step 1. And so like if I'm not ready to fill out the 1003, I can still come over here and see things like the list of documents that the loan officer is probably going to want. And if I want to upload something to the loan officer that's not on this list, as a borrower, I can add my own document here. And so what's important to note is right now on the mobile app side, once the loan is started, you only have a scanner interface. You don't have the ability to upload a file. And just the opposite on the website, I only have the ability to upload PDF files. I don't have the ability to scan. We are working on the mobile side to be able to allow borrowers to be able to upload files. Like if they already have a PDF on their phone, they can upload them. But right now, web-based is upload only, mobile-based is scan only. So let's go back to the 1003 again. And so let's look at the 1003 in both environments here. So it should be, I believe, the exact same questions on each side. So there's 3 types of answers the borrower is going to give to any question. One is going to be like a multiple choice here. So, and you can see, again, I have the same options. I can do a purchase, refinance, a cash out refinance. I'm going to keep a purchase on both sides, and let me hit next there and save and continue there. And then the other type of answer is going to be like a fill in the blank. So like for middle name, I'm going to call myself James, and middle name here, I'm going to call myself, I don't know, Michael John Borrower. So go ahead and save and continue on there. Now there are going to be questions that could definitely be required. On the website, if there's a required question, there's going to be a little asterisk after it. So like if street address, we can see it's not required here, but if there was, we'd see a little asterisk here. And then the last type of answer we're going to give is just like a yes or no or agree or disagree. So like over here on the mobile side where it says, do you currently own? I can just go ahead and tap on that little toggle switch to toggle it back and forth between yes and no. On this side, there are radio buttons instead. So do you currently own, yes or no? Now, another thing I want to point out here is that as we progress through the 1003 on either environment, we can tell how far along the kind of process we are. So over on the web side, we see very clearly that there are kind of status updates. So I did skip, it wasn't a required question, but I did skip the question here, how long have you been at your current address? So that's something that, though it wasn't required, the system definitely wants. So if I want on the website, I can actually just go ahead and go back. And so it wants to know the, how long, or have you been at your current address for at least 2 years? So I'm going to go ahead and say yes and continue. And then years at current address, we'll say 7. So now it's turning green. So we can also see that on the website, that not every question here is going to also be asked. So like as we get down to other questions, like about if there's a co-borrower, if I say no, there's not a co-borrower, then every page that has like co-borrower information, co-borrower's current address, those are also going to be skipped. So it's kind of a smart form that will only ask things based on some answers that are relevant to other answers. So similarly on the app side, I do see a question over there. I'll get to you in just a second. We also have a little progress window right here. So this gray bar. So we see that we get a little status update on how far along we are. In this case, we're not very far along. But again, this is kind of judging based on the entire length of the possible questions. So if I get to like, say, 3/4 through, and I am asked if I have a co-borrower and I say no, then that last quarter is just going to jump along. So we got a question here. How does the borrower get into the website? Do they do the mobile app first? So yeah, it's kind of an either or for that question. So if we, again, go back to the Share This App page, every loan officer has a link that we provide you. Then you can take this and you can put it on your email signatures. You can put it on your Facebook, anywhere like that. So if you give the borrowers this top link here, that's going to invite them to download the app. If you give them the bottom link, that's going to invite them to access this web-based environment. And so, yeah, they can do the web only, they can do the app only, or they can do both together. They're not required to do one in order to do the other. So I'm trying to think if there's anything about how the borrower fills out the 1003 that we need to cover. Let me kind of focus on the mobile app side a little more here. So let me just kind of breeze through the questions because I want to show submitting the loan application from the side. And I'm going to, for time's sake, I'm going to skip as many of these questions as I can. There might be some required popped up. Yeah, most of these are not required. So sorry, I'm just trying to breeze through it so I can show you what it looks like for the borrower's perspective when they submit the loan application. There we go, yeah. I will say, I'm going to say no to the demographic, but I will say yes to the credit off and then the e-consent. So again, we see like right here, we're about 2/3 the way through the application. But now here's the question about, do I have a co-borrower? So if I say yes, it'll open up all the co-borrower questions. But if I say no here, it'll skip them. So you kind of see how at the bottom, like I'm going to skip from 2/3 the way through, probably to the end. Yeah. So about 1/3 of the whole questions was based on whether or not there was a co-borrower. So here on the last page of the application, then we have the privacy agreement so they can read all the fine print stuff. Tap to agree, and then get into the preview mode. So here on the preview mode on the app side, it's going to go ahead and show us all the answers we submitted. We can just scroll through here and answer any other questions that we want. So when we get through this whole thing, and if there are questions that we do need to go back and fix, either because they were typed wrong or incomplete or whatever, the borrower can always go ahead and hit the back button. And then when they hit the back button, it'll take them back to the previous screen. But if everything looks good, they'll hit the done and continue. So we got a question pop up. Does the e-consent carry over to the e-consent that we would usually request out of Encompass? I might need Jessica's help answering on your exact scenario, but I will say that from our app, when a borrower through our 1003, whether the mobile or the web app, when they say yes to the e-consent question on our side, or the e-consent or the credit authorization, we are going to generate for you a PDF file automatically that when you start retrieving documents into Encompass, you will have a PDF letter saying that they did agree to those things. If 3 people are applying together, say a husband, wife, and a father, can they all apply with the same application? Again, I might need a little help on this one, but our system is set up really only for 2 users at most. We have a borrower and a co-borrower. So let me do this here. I'm going to go back because I might need to navigate back into my main account here. And I can show you how to set up borrowers and co-borrowers here. So let's say edit account. Let me just, I was trying to get my email address. Anyway, I'll get that here in a minute. So let me go ahead and sign out here as the borrower. And let me go back into my There you go. So I see I have my Billy borrower and my Mike borrower. So Billy borrower, actually I don't have a loan started for either. So Billy borrower is now submitted. Actually, I didn't even finish submitting the loan application. So let me do that. Let me go ahead and hit submit. So it's submitted to the loan officer, and this is thank you, we'll be in touch soon. Let me refresh my app users page. So now there is a loan application submitted to retrieve this. So let me go ahead. I'm going to do this kind of offsite. I'm going to start a fake loan for Billy borrower here super quick so I can show you co-borrowers. Okay, so let me go to my loans tab. So we can see I have 2 app users, but only one loan connected to this loan officer. So the loan I have is connected with this loan with an app user, Billy borrower. So let's say Mike and Billy were actually applying together. So what I can do here is I can expand the page. Actually, I don't even have to expand the page. What I can do is come over here, and this little plus sign here says add a co-borrower. So to add a co-borrower, both the borrower and the co-borrower have to be app users. So both Billy and Mike, or in the husband and wife scenario, both the husband and the wife would need to download the mobile app. So if I come in here and hit add co-borrower, then I can start typing in the co-borrower's email address. Now, I'm just going to type in SOL. There we go. So as I start typing in the email address, only app users are going to be associated here. So I see as I start typing in Mike borrower's email address, that option appears. And so now I can add Mike as a co-borrower to this loan so that whether Billy's logged in on his phone or Mike's logged into his phone, they can both see the same loan details, and they can both upload documents and that sort of thing. We currently do not have the ability to add a second or a third co-borrower. Right now, it's just limited to the borrower and the co-borrower only. Let me go back and see. Anthony's been helping me answer questions. I'm grateful for that. I just want to make sure there's nothing else I want to contribute. Plus the consent resolve electronic. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, so I'm going to hit cancel instead of adding the co-borrower because I want to keep them separate. So I do know that we wanted to see, if I'm not mistaken, oh, can we do a test to import our own if you want to do your own testing in the system, that's definitely doable and highly encouraged. What I do want to point out here, and I think I've been demonstrating this, is that our system requires or uses rather the email address as the username. So you notice on my 2 test borrowers here, I have 2 different email addresses. Now, I've been putting in email addresses that are non-valid email addresses simply because I know for my tests, I just want to look at how things appear from the borrower's point of view, but I don't need to receive emails from these email addresses. You might, if you need to, like, quote unquote, verify yourself, like if you want to create an app user in the mobile app and then log into the web dashboard, you will need to be able to verify yourself with an email address. So you don't want to use the same email address as your main loan officer, because then the system will get confused. Are you a loan officer? Are you an app user? What's the deal there? So here's actually what I recommend. I recommend that if you're going to create test users, if you have a Gmail address, there's a really neat trick here. So an email address is basically a username at a domain name. So in this case, like username@gmail.com. So a short answer for your question, Jim, no Spanish. I can elaborate here in a minute. So Gmail actually has a really neat system built in. So whatever your email address, let's say it's Billy2018@gmail.com, whatever your email address is. After the username portion, you can put a plus sign and then any number you want, 1, 2, 3, whatever you're going to put in. You can even put in, like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. So every time you want to create an alias email address, put in like a valid email address, like your username at the domain name, but just before the @ symbol, put in a plus number. Every number you create in here, it's going to be a different email address in our system, but Gmail still treats this entire address as an alias. So as many of these as you want to, give out and hand out, test with, just use different numbers every time, and our system will look at it as a different email address. But every email addressed to one of these alias addresses will still deliver to your inbox just as the original did. So it's like a built-in alias system. It's really cool. So yeah, just every test user and every test borrower use a different email address. Did we have an audible question coming in? Sorry, I thought I heard a noise. Okay, maybe not. So a question about the app in Spanish. We've had that question come up a lot. Again, the short answer is no. And are we going to do it? I have no idea how on the horizon that is. There's multiple concerns coming up with the app in Spanish because generally speaking, it sounds like a fairly easy thing to do, but the implications are with possible other denominations coming because currently we only support the US dollar as far as like the app calculator and stuff like that. And two, I think a big concern is the legalese language because there's disclaimers and forms and all that, because we have to make sure that if we support the app in another language, that we have not just a good translation, but a legal translation for all of those things. So I know the question comes up a lot, and I have no idea if it's on the horizon, but I think it'd really expand our company base if we could do that. So I'm hoping it will come. So do you have the videos that we can send to a borrower and show them how to use? Yeah, so I don't know what you've created internally as far as videos. Like I have the video I recorded for you for the loan officers, and they may have me make a borrower-facing one and a partner-facing one as well, but you might also have some good stuff internally to use. It sounds like from Anthony's answer that yes, you do. Okay, so sorry, let me just go back over my notes here. I like to do, so I think we want to see direct how to, I'd like to see on the training how to direct borrowers to upload documents via the mobile app and web. Okay, yeah, so let's talk about that. So going back to, oh, did my mobile app fall asleep? It did. So let me bring back my mobile side, and we'll talk about submitting a document again. Sorry about that. I just have to recast my phone on the screen. My phone went to sleep. Okay, 10. Okay, so here's my phone again. So yeah, let's scan a new document here from the mobile side. So from the web side, I'll say simply that you just have to have, I mean, it's like submitting a picture or a document on any other website. So where you got that list of documents here, and I'm going to log back in as Mike Borrower. Oh, come on. So when the borrower gets to their loan details and they have like the W-2, 30 days of pay stubs, whatever, just like you would see on any other website, they're just going to hit upload, select the document. It has to be a PDF file, and then just go ahead and upload it. Now on the mobile side, let me again just refresh the app so that I show my loan details. So now on the loan details, I have my Billy Borrower here, and I can see the list of documents that are being requested of the loan officer. So here's the complete list right here, including a status. So like in this case, the 30 days of pay stubs was already uploaded. So we see that 1, the font change, 2, I have a little checkbox over there, and 3, the option to actually scan a document then goes away. So let's go ahead and scan a new document. I'm going to hit the plus sign next to the W-2. And so, oh, actually, it looks like you do have the built-in feature. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had that. So yes, we do have both functions available. So if a borrower already has the PDF file on the mobile device, they can choose to send a file, but again, it has to be a PDF file from their phone. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture, though, so we can go over the picture functionality. So I'll say OK. And so when I'm scanning a picture, it wants to know what scan mode I want to use. So by default, what I can do is I can go ahead and choose the black and white filter. The differences between the different filters, and I can show you this as we're in the edit mode here in a minute, is basically the resolution, the contrast they come out as. Text-only documents, we highly recommend using the black and white filter because it's going to upload in a way that makes it look like a nice, clean, scanned document, not just a document that that was taken a picture of with a cell phone, you know, because I'm sure you've all seen like clients just take pictures of a cell phone and submit that, and the underwriters don't love it. But for things like licenses and other things like that, driver's licenses, then we can go ahead and use the color. But I'll show you the difference here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the black and white filter. And then the first time a borrower, and I'm going to replicate it by hitting that question mark button in the upper right-hand corner. The first time a borrower goes in and scans documents, they're going to see these little helpful hints along the way. There's like 4 pages here for the getting started. There's 2 pages on the cropping, and then there's another helpful hint on the editing. So what we can go ahead and do is just line up our doc, try to use the finders as you can. But the more you can line it up, the better. So we'll go ahead and hit the shutter button there, and that'll snap the picture. And then as far as the cropping goes, the app will try to auto crop the document. So, and I'll answer your question about processors and LOAs here in a minute, Michael. That's a great question. We'll talk about that as far as like how to see like when you're notified about when the document's uploaded. So here, the reason my auto cropper did such a good job is because the desktop to the page is such a contrasting color that it was able to find the edges much easier. You know, it's not perfect. I can still go in and bring in these edges a little bit because you can grab any edge and make any adjustment you want. But if you have like, say like a light colored tabletop and the document is white, then the auto cropper won't always be as, you know, solid about it. But again, anyone can always make the adjustments as needed. So then we get in here into the edit page. So you can see here that it's applied the black and white filter. So this looks like a nice clean scanned document, but I do have the edit options in here, including I can adjust the color, which gives me, let me highlight it down here. When I hit adjust color, it gives me this little drop down window right here. So I can stay in black and white, or I can change to color mode. So this is just a colored picture, or I can go to grayscale, which is like a black and white picture. But again, for most text-only documents, we recommend the black and white filter. Now, I think we also see that we have some areas here where it's just kind of dark and smudgy. It's hard to read. And so what we built into our editor is this little contrast slider. So the contrast slider, if we go to the left, everything is going to get increasingly dark until it blackens out. And if we go hard to the right, it's going to do the opposite on the white spectrum. So the idea here is that whoever's scanning is going to go ahead and just slowly adjust everything until they can read everything they need to read with little to no smudges. And then they can go ahead and hit done, and they'll get a full page preview. And the same thing, if they want to add a second page, they hit add page, and now we can see at the top and the bottom, we're now on page 2. So let me go through this. Let me show you how fast it is to scan a page on a document. Because some people worried that it's not very user intuitive. We try to make it as simple as possible. So if we kind of start our stopwatches here, we'll go ahead and hit the shutter button. Then we'll get the auto cropper. We'll bring in the upper left-hand side a little bit. We'll go to the crop a page, and we'll bring up our contrast, and we'll hit done. So page 2 took 10, 15 seconds, easy peasy. So we'll go ahead and hit send here. Yeah, so this is a good question here. If a person scanning and sending doesn't adjust before they're sending, can we adjust it from our side? The answer to that is no, because as we get to this point here where we're actually sending the document to the loan officer, it's actually converting the image to a PDF file. And once it arrives to Encompass as a PDF file, it cannot be adjusted. So in that case, if something is, okay. Sorry, I'm going to mute a couple of live microphones we have in here. We're getting some noise complaints. So if once the borrower scans the document and sends it, the editing portion is done. So if, and I'll show you how in a minute, if the document is not readable, then the loan officer would need to send a rejection notice about the document, and the borrower would need to rescan it. So let's talk about notifications here real quick, since that question came up. So let me go back over to am I still logged in as my LO? Good. Okay, so as far as notification goes, first off, let's talk about your personal notifications as loan officers. So we have the sections here in the account tab that talks about how you want to be notified. So you can be notified by email, by text, by push notification. Push notifications are the messages here on the messaging section. And so if you want to be notified about these different things, you can be notified about like when people create an account, or when they just open their app to use it, when they submit a loan application, when they submit a document. And so you can come in here and you can customize this exactly the way you want it to be. You don't have to click and drag, just click and it'll toggle from yes to no. And so any way you want to be notified, you can certainly customize all that here below. So we had questions about processors and like LOAs and originators, things like that. So down here in the section, you have a My Loan section. So we assume that most of your originators, LOAs, and whatnot mostly need Encompass access. They do not need dashboard access. If they do need access to your dashboard or the app, we don't really have a working processor or LOA profile. The loan officer would just need to share their credentials with the person who they're working with. However, going back to the premise that they are that the LOAs and the processors can simply work out of Encompass, in this My Loan section, you can add them to the notifications. So if you want them to be notified when someone installs the app or when they submit a document or when they submit a loan application, you can simply come down in here and add their email addresses. So your email address is going to be added in a couple of places, but let's say you have a couple of people on your team who's working with you. You can simply add additional email addresses by doing like address 1, comma space, address 2, comma space, etc. And then when we get all these addresses added, we'll just simply hit the save button at the bottom and it'll add it to them. So then that way, when you do get a new document uploaded, like you'll be notified up here, however you have it set to notify you, email, text, whatever, but then the people on your team will also be notified via email as well. So since we're on a run with documents, I don't have direct access to Encompass, so pardon me for that, but I do have a little video I pre-made. I'm not going to play the audio. I'm going to keep all the audio live to me. But let's talk about document retrieval. So to retrieve a document in Encompass that was submitted through some SimpleNexus tool, what you're going to do is you're going to open the loan, then you're going to come down over here, and you're going to open the Forms tab. Once you've opened the Forms tab, the name you're going to be looking for here, by default, we set it up to be SimpleNexus, but your company very well may, in the future, may already in the past, for all I know, has changed it to something like the S1 or whatever your app name is. That tends to be what companies call this. So again, look for either SimpleNexus or a variation of your own app name. But once we're in that tool, then what we're going to see are all of these loan details right here. And so specifically regarding documents, you can see here the list of documents that have been requested. If you want to remove a document from that list, you can hit the X button over here, and it'll go ahead and remove that, that document from the borrower's requested document list. If you want to add to the list, then there's a request button right here. So when you click on that, and I'll show you here at the end, you can click on it and add a message. But yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. So for a new document that's been uploaded, we're going to look at this red message over here. So 0 files received from SimpleNexus, 1 pending. So I know I have 1 document to retrieve. So as soon as I'm ready to pull that in, I'll go ahead and hit that Retrieve Documents button just above, and it'll go ahead and pull open this kind of split screen window. I'm going to let this play and see if I can narrate while it's playing. So on the left-hand side, you're going to get a list of all the documents. So if they've submitted 5 documents, you're going to see all 5 documents listed here. Click on the document that you want to preview, and then over to the right, you're in a preview mode. So it's a PDF file, so you can zoom in, you can scroll around, whatever you want to do. And in this case, in my example, I did like a fuzzy document. So it's up to you. So if the document is good enough to keep, you can add it to Encompass. If it's the wrong document or too dark to read or too fuzzy to read, whatever the case, you can go ahead and hit this Reject Document button down at the bottom. Now, when you hit the Reject Document button, it'll pop up a window, first off confirming the name of the document that was uploaded. In this case, it's w2_example.pdf. And you can either choose one of these radio buttons with like a quick unclear photo, wrong document, missing parts, or you can customize the message by simply typing it in, and then you'll hit the Reject button. From the borrower's perspective, when you hit the Reject button, first off, in the messaging section of their app, they're going to be able to see the message you put. And if you do a rejection message, I highly recommend putting in the name of the document. So don't just put rescan the document, but like rescan pay stubs, be specific. And so when you go ahead and type in the message, they'll see it in the messaging section. And then when they go back into the My Loan tab, instead of seeing that, remember how we saw it like checked off Now, instead of a checkbox, we see this little exclamation mark symbol, and then we see the little plus sign has now returned. So the borrower can now go back in and scan that document a second time and resubmit it. Now, going back here to the Encompass side, if the document is good and we're ready to add it, then we'll go ahead and hit Add to Encompass. And then, again, depending on how your company has it set up, it may go to an unassigned folder, or it may go to a specified E folder. But either way, what's important to know is that when you import a document from our server into Encompass, our server then purges the document, so you cannot import it a second time. So sometimes we'll get calls from customer service saying, hey, I uploaded the document, but now I can't find it. Can I upload it again? And unless we can get a dev to go into a server and recover a file, then the answer is going to be no. So just be sure to your location. Can we upload multiple docs at a time? Actually, the answer to that is no. So we have that list of documents back over here. Let's say we have 5 documents. You can, I mean, it should be a quick matter like hitting the document, add to Encompass, hitting the document, add to Encompass, but you can't like select 5 documents and hit add to Encompass there. So, but yeah, so once we add the file there. So again, let's talk about the document list here. So we have the list of documents. We can reject it by clicking on the X, or what we can do is we can request a new document. And similar to rejecting a document, it's going to ask us to provide the document's name. So we might call it something like bankruptcy. We have the option to add a due date. So if you want to add a due date, you'll leave this box checked, and then you'll have a due date selected here. Or you can, if there is no due date, you'll uncheck that box. And then you can add a note saying like, hey, I'm going to need your, since my document name was bankruptcy, it's going to say, hey, I need your Chapter 13 papers as well too, please. So again, they'll get a message, and then the document will be added to the list. I believe the message part is optional, so you don't have to do a message. You can leave this blank. So I think we may have hit all the specific things that I was asked to cover. If anyone can think of anything you'd like to see, and I'll let my phone go to sleep, but I can bring it back in. Does the borrower get automatic notifications of documents that are outstanding or that are overdue? I haven't tested that, you know, so I apologize. I believe they do. I believe that if there's a due date, they'll probably get an alert in their messaging section as a reminder. But honestly, since I haven't tested that, I'm a little hesitant to say that 100%. I'll say like 80%, I think that will happen. So, but good question. So any other questions about either something I've covered or something you want to see in greater detail? I'm happy to log in as any perspective if you want to see something from a borrower's perspective, LO's perspective, partners. Do our partners get notified when the borrowers send in documents? That's a great question. So initially I'll say it's up to you. So let's go and add a new partner, and I'll show you why it's up to you. So we'll go to our partners page. Actually, I have a partner right here. So when you have a realtor partner added, we can see that you have some options in here, like when you go to your partners page and expand their information. And so you can control what types of notifications that they get. So yes, one of the questions is a send document upload notification. So it's important to note that no one can see the documents that have been sent from the phone, not even the borrower, after they've been sent. So when you go to your mobile app, or the realtor partners go to their mobile app, and you go to your loans tab in the bottom right hand corner, it says loans, not my loans, and you pull up in a borrower's information, you're going to see it looking like this. You're going to see the list of documents, and you're going to be able to tell which ones have been uploaded. And so can the realtor partner if you have this function enabled. So they'll get notified when the documents have been uploaded, and they'll be able to see the list of documents and which ones have been uploaded, but they cannot view the document on their phone. Again, no one can, not the loan officer, not anyone. If the borrower goes into their scanner tab and goes down here under drafts and sent, they can see some limited information. So they can see like the name of the document, the status, whether it's a draft or already sent. They can see when it was created, when it was sent, how many pages it was, and they can see 2 small thumbnails that'll help kind of remind them what the document looked like. But they cannot see the full resolution document on the phone. And that's just for security. If anyone picks up someone's phone. We don't want them to be able to see, tax information and bank statements and driver's licenses. Big no-no. So again, after the document's been submitted, only the loan officers can retrieve it in Encompass. The only thing a borrower can do here is they can hit the edit button, and then they can resend it. They can resend it without having to rescan it, because even though they can't view the document, it's still in a sendable format here. So if the loan officer, maybe they can't find the document in Encompass, or Encompass got nuked, and they go to their borrower and they have to say, hey, can you resend that? They can resend it without having to rescan it. But if they choose to hit delete, then it's not even a draft anymore. They can't send it at all. So 2 other questions coming up here. Can a husband set up an online application with one email address for both him and his wife, and do the e-consent for both of them if his wife is on the same email address? I believe, yeah, because the loan application is just going to be through one of the users. I don't believe if they both do a loan application, then it's going to import as like 2 different loans from the LO's point of view. I don't know what Encompass can do about taking 2 loan applications or loans and combining them into one. You'll probably know more about that than I do. But as far as the e-consent, whoever does fill out the 1003, as part of the borrower's questions, there is a credit authorization question and an e-consent question for the co-borrower as well. So that's all part of the same 1003. What are the milestone notifications that are sent out? Sorry, are you asking what the actual messages are, how they read? I want to make sure I'm understanding your question, Michael. And anyone else who has any questions, feel free to type them out here. So let me say what I can about milestones here while we're waiting for clarification. So on the My Loan page for the borrower, we have where it says like loan progress, and when we see the milestone, in this case it's the milestone that we're actually working on. So I did this really quickly, so my Billy borrower here probably would look more like, let me update it on the back end. Actually, let me bring this window into play. So this is kind of a back-end admin window, but this might answer both questions at the same time. So since I'm logged in here as an admin, sorry, I need my little pointer tool back. Since I'm logged in here as an admin, not just a loan officer, then I have a few additional functions. Like from here, I can artificially create a loan, edit a loan, delete a loan, where in your case, you're only going to be able to do this through Encompass. But talking about milestones, here at the bottom, I can see like the different milestones that are available. So these milestones you're going to want to do through Encompass, but I'm just artificially doing this through the dashboard. So like we can see we have the application, appraisals ordered, and so on. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and click on application, and then I can see here that it's going to update the borrower that the milestone has been accomplished, has been reached. So there's a message in here by default, and so the application milestone is going to say the journey has begun. Your loan application has been received and is currently under review. So from here, I can choose to update only since I'm doing this manually, or I can update and notify. So what's going to happen with Encompass is it's going to update and notify. So let me go ahead and do that here. And then let me get rid of this window. And so we see that my phone here, it woke up and it had that same message. Your journey has begun, your loan application. So if I go back to my messaging section, then I have an update in the My Loan, and I have an update in the messaging section. Let me start with the messaging section. So as far as the loan application, when I submitted it, I can just tap on that to acknowledge I read it. But where it has the milestone notification, when I tap on that, it's actually going to shortcut me over to the, or it's going to crash the app, one or the other. But it should shortcut me over to the My Loan section. And when I go to the My Loan section, that's what happened. It didn't shortcut the app. It killed my reflector. I'm sorry. But what I'm trying to show is that when I go over to the My Loan section, then I'm going to see that now I'm on milestone 2. Sorry, I'm trying to get my phone to reflect again. There we go. Sorry about that. So now I'm on milestone 2, which is appraisals ordered. So we play a little bit with present tense, past tense on this. So it says appraisals ordered. So so when we tap on this, I think it'll better clarify. When a milestone has been reached, accomplished, however you want to say it, it's checked. So like the application is done. The appraisal's ordered, that's the one we're working on. So it's like a current milestone that we're trying to achieve. And then we can see the other milestones here as well. We can see milestone 3 of 6, 4 of 6, etc. So when the milestones have been ordered and completed, so we got the appraisals, then that one will be checked, and then we'll be on milestone 3. I hope that was clear. But yeah, so there is a default corresponding message for each milestone. That's company-wide. It's not something you can change. So like in the case of when the application one is done, it's the your journey has begun message that we see here. A couple other questions here. I'm trying to catch up a little bit. Do the milestones replace the ones from Encompass? So they're kind of corresponding. So when we implemented your company, you have your Encompass milestones, and my guess is there's more than that now where, let's say hypothetically you have 12 milestones on Encompass. So when you reach a certain milestone in Encompass, it's going to trigger the milestone we have for the borrowers to see on our app. So it's, yeah, so it won't be a one-to-one scenario necessarily, but there will be a milestone that once you reach an Encompass will trigger a milestone over here on our side. How do I add my picture to my profile? I see that you can do it for partners. Yeah, so if you're changing anything for yourself, you're going to go to your app's settings page. And let me double check your permissions here. Yeah, so if you want to change your picture, your license details, your personal info, you probably won't be able to change your logo. That's probably set at the company level and locked. But like say you want to upload a new photo, you just hit, the add new photo, choose a different image, and upload it. And then as far as your personal details, like if you want to add a title for yourself, like awesome LO, I'm just making stuff up here and misspelling awesome at the same time. I guess I'm not awesome if I can't spell it. But we can go ahead and update the email, website, cell phone, office phone number, and we can see for the phone numbers, multiple formats are acceptable. So we can go ahead and update that all on the app here. So anything related to you, web links, profile pictures, social links, bios, state licenses, anything about you, you're going to want to go to the app settings page. Anything about your partners, you go to your partners page, and every partner is going to show you kind of a collapsed version first. But if you click on the little symbol here off to the left, it'll expand it. And you can change how your partners are notified. You can update their contact info, pictures, logos, bios, web links, anything you want. And when they get themselves enabled and create their own password, they can use the same web URL that you use. So let me grab that URL. So they can go to s1connect.simplenexus.com and they can log in with their own credentials and they can update their information too. So you can get them started, but if their phone number changes, they can update it. They don't have to rely on you. Can we elect to turn off milestones notifications here so the borrower is not getting them from here and in Encompass, which seems like much? That will be more of an internal question. I'll say it cannot be done person to person or LO to LO. That is going to be a company-wide decision. So I'm guessing that they're going to say let them be notified here as well. But what I will say is that on the app side of things, first off, when anyone installs the app for the first time, they're going to get like one of those pop-up warnings that say like, do you want this app to be able to send you notifications? And even afterwards, like if I wanted to come into my settings page, I can choose to go into my notifications center, and I can go in and enable or disable the notifications. Let me pick something like FaceTime here. So I can go ahead and turn off my own notifications natively. Yeah, so we're getting your company stance to know we're going to keep the notifications on globally here. So yeah, but the borrowers individually can go ahead and control what notifications they want to receive. And the notifications will always come in through the messaging section. So we won't be hounding them through texts or emails on these notifications. They'll always be native notifications built into the app itself. Okay. I believe I'm caught up on questions, but we still have up to 7 more minutes that I have available. So again, any questions you have, if you want to see something or if you want to know how the borrower experiences, I'm happy to entertain any questions you have. Or anything else our admins want to contribute. You're welcome to unmute yourself or have me unmute you, and if you want to address anything.
Stanley, I appreciate everything you're doing for us in this demo and going through everything. I think we're going to do these in a few series of different locations so that everybody is aware. We wanted to get you the borrower's experience, how to communicate with the borrower, how to connect to the borrower, and then we'll have another one how you can work with your business partners and deal with them. So I appreciate your time and expertise in this, and it's been really helpful. So if you don't get any more questions in the next minute, I say we wrap this thing up, and you can utilize a few minutes that you have before your next appointment to get yourself collected for that. But thanks again, Stanley. I appreciate everything.
I'm happy to help here. Thanks for the presentation. You're most welcome. Looking forward to see to the video as well. Can you send me the first video as well? Do you have specific training for processors? Not really. I don't really have anything specific for processors because most processors work out of Encompass as far as our system goes. Is it all right? I guess Anthony and Jessica, if I go ahead and send them the video to the LO training here, and then all my Encompass videos. I have 3 Encompass videos that are kind of general, meant for anyone.
You can, and Allison, I can actually step into your processing call tomorrow to do a little demo of the little things that they can do. There's not much that they can do in there other than get notifications and work from the simple Nexus input form from Encompass. So I can go through that real fast. It's not that hard to do and see what they can do.
Perfect. So yeah, let's take a minute. If you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to ask them. In the meantime, I'm going to post a few videos in here. It'll take me just a minute as well. Okay, so yeah, I will be working on a borrower-facing video for you in the near future. In the meantime, let me give everyone here the videos I do have. So I have a partner-facing video, and I know we're going to be doing a partner training here. So I definitely encourage you to get invitations to that. It'll be some of the same material, but they'll also be talking about this from a marketing perspective. So even if you know the nuts and bolts of how to do it, it would be worth coming to the partner video or the partner training here in the next couple of weeks. I think it's on the 15th it's going to be in order to see the in order to get some of the marketing tips here as well. But yeah, let me so there's the sorry, I'm trying to get these here real quick. So here is the loan officer video. So those of you who attended the loan officer training, then I'm including the link to that here. There's that. And let me just grab 3 other links here. So I have these 3 Encompass videos because I don't even have direct access to Encompass. I rely on, when I have to make a video, I rely on other people to give me screenshots and whatnot. So here's Encompass importing a loan application. Sorry, I'm just copying and pasting a bunch of things right here. And then here's Encompass, the Forms tab. The Forms tab does also show the borrower's point of view in submitting a document, but it also shows like how to link a loan to an app user, how to unlink a loan to an app user, how to invite a loan without an app user, how to become an app user. So this Encompass form video is really good for that. And then this last one here, document retrieval. We watched a little of that one here just in this training. Okay. All right. And that's all my videos, and I saw no other questions come up, so I think we're good. You want to go ahead and wrap this up, Anthony or Jessica?
I guess I will. Yeah, so thanks for everybody for joining. I know that a lot of you signed up at the last minute and got in, but I appreciate everybody being on time for the most part, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we'll get everything we can taken care of and start using the app as much as possible.
sharing today. Again, if you have any questions, I'll finish where I started. You can go to your help and support page. You have a phone number and an email. You can reach out to us. We're happy to help you any way we can, whether it's a troubleshooting issue or if you just have best practices or how-to questions. They're standing by ready to help. Have a great day.
Thanks again, Stanley.
My pleasure.
Bye.